from a Christian worldview, is it hateful to call Islam what it is, to recite what the Quran actually says and what the Hadith said? Is
No,
that the
it's
way
not
Christians
hateful at
should be
all.
thinking?
It's not hateful at all when we label something truthfully. We know that the Quran is a book of violence in many areas. There's well over 100 references to violence and carrying violence out against the infidels, the non-Muslims. We know that. And if we don't speak up, especially as Christians, then what we're doing is we're advocating violence by our silence. So this is something I've been talking about in varying degrees on my radio show here in Idaho. Is the idea of the Christian pastors starting to preach to thin the church out. Because I believe the church is full of false converts. There are people who are gathered in churches for the nice music, the nice fellowship, the nice ear-tickling messages. And they're not equipping the Christians to do what needs to be done. Now, in Genesis 1:26 through 28, we have what's called the dominion mandate, or I like to call the first great commission, given to Adam and Eve to take dominion over the world in a physical sense. The last commission, given by the last Adam, 1 Corinthians 15:45, Jesus is called the last Adam. But in the ending, the last three verses of the ending of Matthew, the Great Commission, it's another commissioning where Christians are told to go out into the world and make disciples of all nations. Now, we Christians, sometimes, a lot of Christians are being taught that we're to turn the other cheek. We're to do nothing. And turn the other cheek doesn't mean to do nothing. When Jesus said to the disciples, when he sent them out to go out into the world, in 22:36, he said, do you have a sword? They said, no, we have two cloaks. He said, sell one cloak and buy a sword. And he sent them out. And the reason he did that was because he was saying we have the right of self-defense. Why would we need that? Because we're out there spreading the gospel. We are out there knocking down the gates of hell. And this is talked about by Jesus in Matthew 16:18. The issue of the gates of hell will not prevail against the church. Well, a lot of Christians don't understand the power we have in the word, the power we have in the gospel, excuse me, and the right we have to speak that word because Jesus has given us that authority to do that. Now, as far as Christians being intimidated about this, well, let me tell you, just a week and a half ago, I was in Washington, D.C. at the National Mall where they had the atheist rally called the Reason Rally. There wasn't much reason really there. But nevertheless, we took Ubers. Ubers are you call up, you get somebody who's got a car and they drive and they take you around. We met, I think about 3/4 of them were all Muslims. And we were talking to the Muslims, witnessing to them about Jesus. And they were very receptive. They were very polite. They didn't take dynamite out of the glove compartment, throw it in the back seat, and try and kill us. You know, they were good people, relatively speaking. We as Christians need to know that, first of all, we are responsible to Christ to spread that word, and that Muslims want to hear more about Isa, more about Jesus. They want to know more about who he is and what he's done for them. And we need to tell them. And if we're going to hold back the truth, the saving gospel of God from Muslims because we're afraid maybe to be inconvenienced or afraid to be hurt, then there's something wrong with us. We need to be bold, we need to be prayerful, we need to be wise, and we need to move forward. And we need to tell them what they need to know about Jesus. That's the truth.
Amen.